What's up, everybody? Just want to take a quick second and let people know that I am self-supported. I now put all of my episodes on Substack for paid subscribers. I put them up early, and then 24 hours later, I release them to the public on all my platforms. I also have Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, Zelle, a PO Box, and I don't think Locals, Patreon. And all of the links are in the show notes of every single episode I put out. So look forward to continuing to provide great conversations. And thank you all for your continued support. Well, this conversation was supposed to start off with Mike Adams and Steve, and I thought I had this epiphany like 2 hours ago. I called Steve. I go, yeah, maybe we should have Mike Yan on. I go, Mike Adams, he's not going to care. Steve, I don't think you're going to care. And then I text Michael Yan, and I said, jump in. Let's have a party today. So thank you all three of you.
Yeah, I said to Mike on the phone, I'm like, dude, just assume anytime you do a show with me, if you invite Jan, that's always okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, and now instead of coffee and a mic, it's 3 mics and a Steve. So
there you go.
This is a triple mic day.
So Mike Adams, I'm going to turn it over to you. Where do you want to start with all this?
Ooh, well, okay. How about this? The fact that the whole world is getting an education of where things come from, and it's absolutely shocking. So we're getting an education about elements like sulfur and helium, and then molecules like hydrocarbons. Where does natural gas come from? And then also fertilizer, where does ammonia come from? The Haber-Bosch process, which I got to give credit to Michael Yan. Michael's been talking about that for years with BASF in Germany, warning about this for years. But the overall thing that's happening is people are getting this education of where things come from, and they're realizing that the entire global supply chain is screwed right now. And so it's not going to be easy to get through this unless we immediately get back to, flows and peace, which doesn't look likely. So that's where I would begin, Michael.
Can I ask all you guys something, because and get your opinion, whoever wants to start with this. This is one of the things that I guess I'm obsessed with. We all have our narratives, and I can't let this go. But to me, it seems like nobody wants this war to stop. And, the parallels between 2020 and now with the COVID cases, not to spend an hour talking about COVID, but the case numbers, if we get them to a certain threshold, then, we'll open things up. And that's what I feel like with this war. It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. Our battle's concluding for today. Do you guys see any of this?
The war is on until it's not. This whole thing about the rhetoric, it's just rhetoric, right? And I think Jan and I have had this conversation at least a dozen times, right? Wars grow exponentially, not incrementally, and they grow at their own pace, and they grow at their own speed, right? Trump is a non-player character as far as I'm concerned in this conflict, right? Because this could have been ended. He should have, if it was me, I would have walked away, declared victory months ago, and let them charge the toll and move on, right? Because Mike touched on something that I don't think most people realize is very important in healthcare, and that's helium, right? We use it in all of our CT machines, all of our MRI machines, and it's called, they do a process called quenching. Basically, they have to use helium to keep those machines. And even if the machine is not running, even if the machine's in storage, they still have to have helium in it, and they still have to keep power to it in order for it to work. Imagine all those MRIs and CT machines shut down because a helium flow stops. And that's just the medical side. That's not microprocessors. That's not chip plants. And by the way, about 4.5 miles from me is the Taiwan semiconductor plant, which is massive. Where are they going to get the helium to use at that plant if the flow stops, right? So there's the second and third order effects that have come out of this that are still they still haven't reached us in a way that's meaningful for most people. But when it does, and we're not that far away, when it does, it's going to shock a lot of people, because I don't think there's a good portion of the population that has any clue just how important just helium is to our, not just our economy, but to the healthcare system and how it's going to affect everybody. So,
Michael, actually, can I ask Mike Adams a question? All this helium and stuff, what effects are this? Are you tracking with the prices of SSDs and all the memory and all that? I think you probably are, right?
Well,
I'm not.
yeah, but also look what just happened in Korea, right? The market crash because of Samsung and SK Hynix are crashing, and Micron's crashing, and SanDisk is crashing in the U.S. because of China's ability now for both high bandwidth memory production and also then UV lithography that Steve was just talking about. So, all the efforts to try to restrict this technology, ASML, from China, it's all failed. And China's figured out, hey, we can do UV lithography ourselves. And so all these Korean companies, which make up, a huge portion of the KOSPI index, I think it's called, right there in Korea, that's all cratering. But the prices are going to come down because of China, Michael.
Oh, they're going to go down.
They're going to come down as China's production ramps up. Prices are going to come down. That's why Samsung is losing valuation big time right now. And SK Hynix.
And my question to you, Mike, is let's say all things being equal, the price does adjust downward. It gets to a lower. What's the bottom? Because there's going to be a bottom where Samsung can't compete, where the rest can't. Because you know how China works, right? They drive the price down, then they start to acquire companies. My question is, how fast are they going to get to the bottom and then start acquiring? Because I can't imagine Samsung in the hands of Chinese. Sorry.
No, well, the Chinese ramp up is going to take actually a couple of years. There's not going to be a substantial high bandwidth memory output from China until like mid 2027. But you know how China ramps up; they scale rapidly, right? So 2028 and 29 is when Korea and Micron in the U.S. are really going to feel it. But as far as your question, Steve, where's the bottom? I don't know, but there's a long way to go because there's a lot of margin in that right now, a lot of margin. So the prices can fall 80% and they can still earn money on it. In fact, China can produce high bandwidth memory at about 1/10 the cost of the current retail price of those memory sticks. Think about that. Now, by the way, I can't wait for the AI infrastructure bubble to pop so that I can buy high bandwidth memory and GPUs at affordable prices because those prices are insane.
Right?
I want to go to the auction, man. Here's a data center auction.
You had mentioned AI, I think, in your interview on AJ today. And I'm like, oh, that's right. I forgot about that bubble too, because that bubble's coming. And I've been deeply involved the last couple of months, just getting my head around Claude, OpenAI. I've been using Hermes, which is the MIT open source. I've got a few others that I've been playing around. Some of them are pretty capable, some of them hallucinate, but I don't know how they monetize that, right? I mean, Claude, you pay 15 or $100 a month. It does code for you. I had to do a website for me. He did it about an hour. But I don't see how you monetize that, right? Because a lot of what we do a lot of what I've been doing with AI is point and shoot. I need this, go build this. I need a scanner, go build a scanner, right?
There is no revenue model on the inference side that makes sense. Just like you were saying, the reason this is happening, it's massively subsidized by investors and by government grants in order to push the race to superintelligence. That's the payoff. And these companies believe, OpenAI in particular, Sam Altman, these people, in my opinion, believe that if they can win the race to superintelligence, then they can dominate the world. And then economics don't matter anymore. Money doesn't matter. Debt doesn't matter. Because at that point, their superintelligent AI entity will just control and dominate and hack everything. And then they're like super gods, they think. That's where this is going. That's why they don't care about that.
Who are the investors then in this? So that's the question that I have. Like, where is the money coming from to keep building these things?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is index funds, there's retail investors, there's family funds, and there's government grants, and there's also the Gulf state nations. They pledged a lot of money into these projects to try to appease Trump. That didn't work. They still got bombed. Anyway, they still got their bases blown up. But the money's coming in from many, many sources. And remember that the average American, the average Korean, the average Japanese, even the average like Taiwanese person, the typical person thinks the stock market is a magical money machine. That if they just buy into everything, that this magic money is going to spit out, because most of the investors are not old enough to remember the .com crash, right? So they're about to learn a very expensive lesson. It's not a magic money machine. They're going to lose almost everything because most of them are highly leveraged. And oh boy, I can't wait for the Big Short 2.0 movie to come out, also featuring Michael Burry. So that's going to be something.
You touched on something, Mike, that I think is worth exploring, because I talked about this in my previous. I had a conversation with a buddy of mine that's still in the system. Sorry, in DC, it's still in the system. And I said, "What's the deal with AI? Why is this such a big deal? I don't get it. I can think of a few use cases in the intelligence community where it would be very, very useful, but I can think of a lot of use cases where it would not be." And he said, "Let me put something in front of you. What if the race is not about AI? What if the race is about quantum computing? And if you get to quantum computing, it allows you to break any encryption algorithm on the planet. And once you get the ability to break all that encryption, if you have something smart enough that can operate that, then it can monitor everything and everyone on the planet. And even if it's air gapped, it has tools and capability that it can go and it can discern what's on those air gap machines and control them as well. If you had that ability, what would you throw money at?" I mean, it's plausible, right? Who knows how real that is, and who knows how close we are. But with Microsoft coming out with a quantum chip, and again, cooling's still the issue. But if they had the capability to do that, there's not an encryption system on this planet that would be able to resist quantum computing. And that, to me, I think is the ultimate goal. Not super smart, but it could be both, right? Two things could be true at once. Who knows?
Well, yeah, you're right about that. But I mean, I would mention in the world of encryption, there are quantum decryption resistant algorithms for encryption that are being transitioned to right now. But to your point, what's really critical is that whoever's hoovering up all of the existing encrypted traffic, such as the NSA, they can store all of that traffic today. Every bank transaction, every encrypted post, website access, everything, credit card numbers. And then when sufficient quantum or qubits are achieved, which is proving to be quite difficult, but no doubt achievable in the laws of physics, they can go back and decrypt all of that. So they can go back retroactively and then find all these financial records and find all these emails and find all these other things that have been decrypted using the old encryption algorithms like 256 256-bit encryption. It would be relatively easy to break. So you're right about that. But remember, there are resistant algorithms that are being kind of shifted to, right? Like the Bitcoin people are talking about that a lot too, even because they don't want all the blockchains to be broken, obviously, by quantum computing. But we'll see, right? We'll see.
This
see what they can pull off.
This brings me to another point. Steve, I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to agree with Mike. We're going to see how this plays out, right?
As we're talking about this, the manipulation in the oil. As we're talking about manipulation right now, the oil markets. Saudi Arabia, another one of the refineries went down, and yet the price of oil continues to decrease. Somebody make that make sense for me on that.
Michael, Jan,
you won't get it quiet.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately the molecules are decreasing, though. What is going on? Are they just getting every last drop out of the strategic oil reserve, or what?
How is the price going down when there's?
I've said, if you continue the projection, by the time all the refineries are on fire, oil should be free. So you just have to be willing to go get it. Good luck with that.
We'll probably wake up in the morning and realize, hey, nothing was on fire. It was all a movie.
I'm gonna name this. I'm gonna title this episode that, Mike Adams. This is what the title of the episode is gonna be. If you're like,
awesome.
No, but
that came out my nose, by the way.
What's the justification for?
How thick is your fireproof suit? I'm sorry, what?
But what's the decrease? What is in your view? And I've talked to, it was a couple weeks ago. I talked to Chris Martinson. Why do you think that? Why is the price of oil going down when the world's basically on fire?
Well, Chris Martinson has the best answer to that. He's the one, I think, researching it the most. It's all manipulation. It's timed paper markets, and it's very obvious, and it's going to end. And I've joked, about the game rock paper scissors. There's a new version of rock paper scissors oil, and oil beats paper, it turns out. So eventually your paper doesn't work anymore because it gets soaked with oil. Anyway, that's my way of saying it. Eventually the molecules have to show up or you're just screwed. But anyway, that's my take.
Well, and there's so many. It's another coffee mug idea right there, Mike. rock paper oil instead of rock paper scissors.
Yeah, exactly.
But it also, this war has no signs of slowing down. And Michael Jan, you've been ahead of this. I mean, as far as I know, the earliest on all this. Like once these wars start, they just keep going and going and going. But the United States doesn't want this to stop, in my view.
No, not at all. In fact, I think we're going to end up seeing a war with Brazil and Argentina. And I've been saying that for a while. And actually, we just saw the first little spider web jiggle of that in the last few days. In fact, I just got a message from somebody significant in Argentina that says, wow, this is a person that is very significant position. And when I was down there, spent a lot of time. And anyway, at the end of the day, this person is in a position to know and wasn't seeing anything about potential war with Argentina and Brazil up until about 3 days ago. Now it's a little, the spider web's jingling. I think they're going to end up in war. My guess is it will go like this. Argentina will go for Malvinas. They'll go for the Falklands. And then once they succeed, I think that they will succeed in that. That's my guess, because you're only fighting Great Britain, who's not that great anymore. And they can take it, I think. And plus they'll be backed by the United States to take Malvinas from Great Britain, right? Because Argentina is meant to be another extension of Israel. Israel's going supernova, by the way. They're clearly exploding. They're Israel per se is falling apart. But they're going supernova, and they're going out to places like Thailand and Guatemala and Panama, key places actually, and Argentina. But Argentina is a place where you could use Argentina for various things. One is you could go to war with Brazil and reduce China's food supply. And also by controlling Panama Canal and Malacca and a few other things. If somebody were audacious and capable enough to drop Three Gorges Dam, I think here's a problem. The Zionist versus Chinese Communist Party, they both have advantages and disadvantages, significant on both sides. And it's clear that one of the advantages of the Chinese Communist Party is just numbers of people. They're also building, as Mike Adams has talked about, I think everybody here, they're building massive amounts of highly capable drones, right? And they have a lot of information. They could use those drones to do a genocide like has never been seen before. And the Zionists know that, right? So the Zionists are trying to genocide a lot of people. We've seen what they've done in Gaza. They're doing the same with Lebanon. They're doing the same with the United States, with the death jabs. They're doing the same all over the world with the death jabs. But China doesn't want to be genocided by the Zionists. But so they're frenemies. They cooperate, the Zionists and China cooperate attacking us, and they cooperate attacking a lot of people like India. Of course, India cooperates with the Zionists in attacking us. And, it's the normal great game, right? It's a big riot. but at the end of the day, I think the Zionists are going to try to put China into famine, and which means here in Japan will go into famine as well. And the Zionists, the Chinese eventually may end up responding with very forcefully, and they have the capacity to do it. They got a port right off They've got a port right off the coast of Florida in the Bahamas. We went down there and looked at it. I mean, they've got all kinds of. I mean, they've got us hemmed in, and the ability to do attacks now with. I mean, they could be significant.
Anybody want to add to
Michael? Yeah, I want to add that China's. I think everything you said is strategically correct. China's best move out of that is for China to develop its own domestic nuclear fusion reactor technology, which they're working hard on. And I was looking this up, they just achieved 2 milestones. In January, it was called the Experimental Advanced Superconducting Tokamak East Reactor, also known as the Artificial Sun. Anyway, they've achieved these 2 milestones. They're still probably years away from it, working. But if they achieve this, and if anybody is good at engineering with energy, it's Chinese and Japanese and Koreans. Let's put them in there as well. If they achieve that, then Michael, they can greatly decrease their reliance on energy inputs. They can shift a lot of things from oil to electricity, such as transportation and vehicles and so on. But more importantly, if you have really abundant, low-cost energy, then you can do a lot of vertical indoor farming that's very energy intensive. Mm-hmm. You can turn your buildings into vertical farms. And even though you don't have the land for ranching cattle and so on, you could at least prevent a lot of famine through plants that are grown in very high density food factories in the city, or really agricultural production facilities that are super energy hungry, that can't be economical today if you're using hydropower or gas turbine power or coal power. But under hot fusion, that could become very economical. And I also want to add one more thing. Remember that China is also pioneering the naval vessel lasers that fire, these very powerful lasers that are great because you don't have to worry about ballistics, and bullet drop over, or missile drop, right? You just fire in a straight line. As long as the light can go through, you can hit if you can see your target, you can hit it, right? But the issue is the heat dissipation. Excuse me. And China has had a lot of breakthroughs on the heat dissipation, plus the energy generation. So if they can create these hot fusion reactors and miniaturize them and put them on naval vessels, or even just use standard fission reactors on naval vessels like we have with our aircraft carriers, then they could develop a formidable laser navy, which sounds like science fiction, but it's not, So what's your reaction to that, Michael, about sort of their way out, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, very interesting, the things that you're saying. Oh, with the naval lasers, I'm curious what the range of those would be, because, there's the curvature of the Earth, right? I mean, I think you would have to put those on aircraft, right?
They're really effective on flat Earth.
Right. Yeah, flat Earth.
You just have to get some flat Earth gas on, and then the naval battles are very long range. But yeah, for the curvature, you're exactly right. I'm sorry. I'm just joking around.
Right. But I mean, I'm curious too, how big those lasers will end up being, and how those reactors, I think, can be quite small, right? So you can put those on aircraft. Is that true?
Oh, I don't think not on aircraft, but on ships, yes, you could. On ships.
Because I'm curious how because how far could a ship actually shoot when there is a lot of Earth curvature there?
Well, I mean,
space
depends on the height
is a different
of your
story.
target.
Space is a different story.
But you can shoot aircraft. You can shoot, land targets, right? That you could see that might be at elevation. You could shoot into ports and things. Oil refineries that stick out of the landscape, right? I mean, all kinds of things you could shoot.
Right, you could come up with subs and robotic subs and robotic everything, and you could do quite a lot of things, and not to mention space-based lasers. Obviously, can do all. I mean, we're in a world now where there's really it's hard to hide. It's hard to hide. I mean, you can be hit, right?
And the whole world is a laser shooting gallery. It turns out if you have lasers, it's like wherever you want to shoot, hard to defend against that if you have ships made out of steel or you have radar that's pretty fragile. The radar sits on the top of the U.S. naval vessels. How hard is it to like melt, the radar phased arrays? Not very hard at all, I would imagine.
I don't know what sort of weapons are available, but I would imagine I would not want to be on a ship at this point.
Yeah.
Let me
There's
ask.
so many.
Let me ask you three a question then. What is the future of warfare, based on what you guys just discussed? Are you going to need as many soldiers? Are you going to need as big of a physical military presence? Steve, you want to start?
Well, that's a variable question, right? I mean, it depends on the threat. You can't just say we got to have X amount of ships, we got to have X amount of coverage. I mean, we're talking about, a diverse threat. Let's just put it that way. I don't know any other way to say it, but logistically, when you look at a threat like that, how do you can't estimate force size because you don't know what losses are going to be. You have no idea what your attrition rate's going to be. You have no idea what logistical requirements are going to be. Let's just say, and use Mike's example, right? They burn up one of our phased arrays on a destroyer. How long is that going to take in port to fix that? And more importantly, is there a countermeasure against it, right? So it's not just the asymmetric threat. It's the asymmetric threat plus the countermeasures plus the time and the attrition that goes along with that. So there's not an answer, right? It's just how bad is the threat? How much attrition do we see? And then how much of a force projection is that? So,
Can I say something on that, Steve? I mean, what you're saying is important. And you've seen attacks when, I've been in high level headquarters and low level headquarters. And let's say I remember one time there was some Al Qaeda dudes in Bakuba. And this was just at the battalion level, I think, it was at the brigade level. And I was in the headquarters. I was not on the mission, but you could hear it was very close by. The fighting was actually not far from the base. But when it came to what to do with those guys that had finally been hemmed up in a building, I was watching them from the drone. The menu of systems that the commander can bring to bear it's immense. I mean, and that's just brigade level. It's like a Chinese menu with like page after page. We can hit them with mortars. We can hit them with the 155s, we can hit them with MLRS, we can hit them with Apache. Okay, if it's Apache, which weapon? Kiowa, which weapon? F-18s. Finally, some fast movers came. And then so the Air Force JTACs were there, and how they're in the brigade headquarters at their little console. And I remember I was right by them, and they were talking about which weapons to release on them. And the commander was like, let's release those. What are those bombs called that are just concrete? What are those things called? Dumb bomb. It's just concrete, no explosive. And because that way they're so accurate, you can just drop stones on them, right? And but the Air Force guys were like, no, we didn't come this far just to drop rocks on people, and they wanted to drop at least a small bomb. I forgot which weapon was used ultimately, but I mean there was just large menu, and you're going. And then the lawyer chimes in, no, you can't do this. What's the lawyer doing here? You know what I mean? How many times did you see the lawyers get involved? But anyway, the point is I can only imagine what it's like on the strategic level when you've got the Navy and the Air Force and everybody involved at once. The menu of weapons is going to be like a phone book. That the things that you can use from the satellites all the way down to the subs, right?
Can I chime in on this? I would add that the human presence on the battlefield, which has already been shown to be not very survivable between Ukraine and Russia because of the drones, that like the human survivability factor is going to drop so low because countries will, I mean, let me just give you one example. They will create robotic squirrels with UV lasers that blind human eyes. Okay, so all they have to do is unleash 1,000 squirrels. And yeah, this violates all the Geneva Convention and everything else, but apparently nobody cares about any conventions of war, genocide here, bombing school children over there, whatever. So if you were really trying to have dominance over the battlefield, you would just have, you release 100,000 squirrels with blinding lasers, and all they do is find humans on the other army and they just find their faces and blind their eyeballs. All those humans are done for life. And then it's autonomous systems. It could be other little robotic squirrels that have small explosive charges. And what do? They leap onto your neck and just detonate, little kamikaze neck busters, right? What do you need? 50 grams of explosive? Boom, your head's gone, right? And if you're blind, there's nothing you can do to stop it, right? So there's that, and then there's the dog robots, and then of course drone swarms, etc. I think the human survivability drops rapidly, and you end up with drone on drone wars, robots on robots. Skynet, aliens versus Predator, or like Skynet versus Terminator, or whatever. This is what it comes down to, which ultimately is it's a kind of kinetic version of a cyber war. It's who's got the production scaling to build all these systems. So Russia's done a lot of domestic supply chain shoring up with their steel industries and their own domestic sourcing of electronic components and so on since 2022. But the real elephant, or the 800-pound gorilla here, is China, because China can manufacture at scale. And Michael was just sort of hinting at this. China can unleash a genocidal wave, let's say, if they wanted to, against any target country. You just sail a ship over there with 40-foot containers on the cargo ship. You get, 10 miles offshore, the containers open up, out pop like 5 million, head severing drones or whatever. And that's what warfare is going to become. It's unsurvivable by humans in the way.
I think it's already there. I think it's already there.
Yeah.
Like if you look at how the Ukraine war has developed over the past 4 years, at first they were doing brigade level movements. They were doing brigade, company, and battalion level movements. Now they can't even do a squad movement, or they get decimated by the drones. Right. And it has completely changed the battle. We're basically back to trench warfare with a lot more cover and less exposure. There's no open trenches anymore. And if there are, there's a lot of different revetments in the trench system, so they can stay somewhat concealed from the drones because the threat's so pervasive. And armor is evaporated. All of the armor that we sent over there, we sent all of our war stocks. We had thousands of 113s, armor personnel carriers, gone.
Right.
Bradley's gone. So and I want to add a layer of abstraction to this, because it's something most people don't think about. But the F-47 that's being built by Boeing right now, it's not a fighter. It's not a bomber. It's an autonomous platform that's a battlefield management system, is what it really is. Mm-hmm. And when you put that overhead, it doesn't matter if the ship carrying the containers is automated or staffed. It can be controlled by that asset that's in low Earth orbit or high Earth orbit and never touches a human hand. Think about that for a second. You release 5 million drones over Los Angeles, you're going to take out a bulk of the population, but the rest of the population will be so stunned, it would be very easy just to move forces in from, you could just dock them right at Long Beach and walk right into Los Angeles. The whole nature has changed completely.
Oh, a drone swarm could put Los Angeles into a firestorm like a hurricane. It would be gone. Los Angeles would be. I got some of the original firestorm planning, actually, that they did for some of the firestorms in Germany and here in Japan. Those were detailed planning to create actual firestorms, like dropping high explosives first to blow the windows out, so the airflow, and immediately. These things were timed. They were designed to make firestorms. They'd be child's play now with the drones. Drones with thermite. That would be, you would have entire cities with hundreds of thousands of people killed easily, if not more.
We'll have to rename it Lost Dresden.
Yeah.
Because that's right. That was a weapon of mass destruction.
Clearly.
Firebombing Dresden, right?
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. Yeah.
What about the costs associated with this too, right? I had Ted Postel on a couple of weeks ago, in scientist from MIT, and he was talking about a price of a drone is 20 to 40,000 versus a Patriot missile, I think, is 2 to 4 million, 1 to 3 million.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and the drone, even what Michael's talking about, like thermite drones, those could be manufactured by China for under $1,000 each. We're not even, and they could have ranges like flight ranges of 50 kilometers or something, right? And they could be completely autonomous. They don't have to be controlled. Like they're pre-programmed with where to drop the thermite, right? So they can be mass produced. And I keep coming back to China on this because they have so many key advantages in manufacturing automation. I mean, remember when Ford executives visited China and freaked out about the so-called dark factories? They're dark because they don't even turn the lights on because there's no humans. It's just robots making cars. BYD, Cadle, other car companies, just smashing out cars like crazy. I mean, churning them out that are high-end cars. They could do it with drones. They could do it with robots. They can do it with, anything mechanical. And also, they're doing it with Navy vessels too. All the shipyards. What's up, Michael?
My baby just came in. She brought me. She won't sit with me though. She brought me steak.
She want to make a cameo? She doesn't want to make a cameo?
Instead of coffee and Mike, it's steak and Mike.
She's trying to lure you away from the interview. Is what's going on.
Come on. She won't sit in.
No quick cameo? Hi, Masako.
Hey, Masako. We got a hand. Okay, great.
Let me ask you guys something else then, too.
By the way, she was using some when we were in Mike Adams' studio. We got some of the foods that he sells, and Masako started experimenting with those. I'll tell you later. It's very good.
Cool.
Yeah, we're loving it. Yeah.
Let me
I
ask
ate those almonds on the airplane, by the way, when I was flying over.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, those are tested for all the bacteria and everything, so you're not going to get sick.
Yeah, they were good.
There's not E. coli in that. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys something else too. Oh, go ahead, Mike. I don't want to cut you off.
You should see Michael's microscopes. Masako and I, we've been trying to find who's got the best microscope in Japan so we can go see it, but Michael's got these awesome microscopes. I mean, we have the same personality. Deep inside, we're still basically children who love science. You know what I mean? And I mean, it's some of the and actually, Michael, I think, knows more about the helium than most people. Actually, I wanted to hear more about the helium. Actually, those issues are quite serious. You were talking about that when we were there. The helium shortages now.
Well, I showed you the helium tanks in our lab. Remember
Right.
seeing those big tanks?
Yeah, I didn't want to mention them unless you did, but I mean, they're quite interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's because probably those are the first things that'll be confiscated if Trump invokes the NDAA or the Stafford Act. They'll probably show up like men with guns, like, give us your helium. And
Right.
I'll be like, okay, take the
Release
what
the
am I gonna
helium.
do? I'm not gonna die over the helium. Okay, take the helium. Shit. I mean, okay, if you're gonna go that far, then take the helium. But I'm gonna film you. Helium thieves.
Just hit the valve.
Yeah, we'll release it all and we'll talk like crazy people for the next 5 minutes. No, go ahead, Michael. You were about to say something.
Well,
Masako was asking why the helium was so important. That's what she was just asking me off camera. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's very important. Anyway, we'll talk about it later. Yeah.
Well, I'm curious why Israel is not getting bombed by the ballistic missiles from Iran right now.
I can take a stab at that. Yeah, that sounds like a Steve question. I can take a stab. I think I'll take just a quick stab, and then Steve should take the long stab. I think quick stab is they're just getting rid of us first, which makes sense from a larger. I would get rid of us first. I would get us out of the way, and then take out Israel. That's what I would do. I don't know if that's what's really going on, though.
I mean, if you were Iran, that would be your strategy. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My thought process is I'm pretty aligned with what Bracken thinks, because Bracken has a very, very good premise. And by the way, if you watch, what's that guy's name?
Mario Nawfal.
I'm going on with him today, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Just those interviews that Matt did with him last week were amazing, because he walked through not just, let me put this in Army terms so everyone understands why I'm a little bit constipated on this. anytime you do a battalion maneuver, brigade maneuver, division maneuver, you lay out all of the terrain and you do what's called a rock walk, where you walk through where you're going to be on that terrain and where the passage of lines are, where your battalion and brigade boundaries are. And Matt walks through why that terrain is so hard to fight. It's not just steep terrain within Iran. It's the access to those islands. And so logistically, and I'll address the idea we're going to land forces, which I hope there's some adults in the room and say no to that, right? Because then it's just a missile sponge. But I think the reason why they haven't attacked Israel is they're saving that for us to put troops on the ground, and then they'll go after Israel once all those airplanes, all those tankers, all those fighters are on the ground. They'll wait for half of them to get in the air, and then they'll take out the landing strips and the rest of those aircraft. That's what I think they're waiting for, because that's what I would do, right? Why give away all your positions and all of your missiles that are in reserve, because supposedly they're still getting bombed. Who knows if that's true? But assuming that's true, why would you give up your launch sites when you can just wait for the right opportunity and get more bang for the buck? And oh, by the way, deal a decisive blow, because they have no qualms about bloodying our nose. And if they can do it in a very public fashion, that's a political win, that's a geopolitical win, and that's a regional win for them. And that's what I would do. I wouldn't wait around and waste missiles on Israel, because all you have to do is wait for the U.S. to put all their planes there, and guess what? You get two birds with one stone. And
you take out us, and then you can take Israel. I mean, that's what. And if I were Iran, I would say, please bring 100,000 troops, land them in Iran. I wouldn't even. I probably would not even resist. I'd be like, bring them in. We're going to kill all of them, right? And because we can't obviously sustain them, and you can cut off that sustainment, you wouldn't be able to sustain it. There's no way. And I'd kill every one of them.
We can't even put ships in the strait. I mean, we don't have any Navy boats ships in the strait. So how are they logistically, how are you going to supply them? And Matt talked about this, which I think was a brilliant point. You couldn't pay me to put my feet on one of our V-22s, the tilt rotors, to go in there. That's a missile magnet. There's no there, no matter how you do it logistically. And more importantly, the only thing that goes to Persia are armies to die. So if Trump doesn't study history and doesn't know history, he should go back and look at every other army that's ever invaded Persia, and he'll see exactly what's about to happen if that's on his mind. But I honestly don't think that's it. I don't think he's playing that game. I think he's being pushed in that direction, but I think General Kane has said there's no win there, because any four-star army general should say no. And they should fall on their sword for this, right? This is not a fight we can win.
I think the game is much bigger than that, though. It's not about Iran, actually. I think the idea is a main target is the United States. I mean, we're being bled. And I think at some point we're going to have a draft, and the force of that draft will be used to kill off young people, just like it's happening to Ukrainians. And then they'll draft. You'll have Israelis running our military, and you'll have people like Haitians wearing uniforms and murdering people in Los Angeles, right? I mean, this is normal, as you know. This is an old game of raising foreign armies. In this case, hijacking our army, and it's clearly underway. It's clearly we are a major target of this, not Iran, and the so-called Iran. Russia war. It's not meant for one of those to win or lose. They're both being attrited, right? They're both being dissolved. And Europe is coming. I mean, at some point, I think Alex Jones asked me last week when I was in the studio, do I think, Iran would, that Russia would attack Western Europe? Yeah, I do think that they will. In fact, Masako recently and I were in Hamburg because we think Hamburg would be one of the targets. That's why we were there. Remember when Masako and I, here's Masako right here. She won't come on for come on. And but when we went to BASF twice before Nord Stream got cut, we went there twice. And the last time we were there was 14 days before Nord Stream was attacked at BASF at Ludwigshafen in Germany, right? We went to Groningen and all these different places before they were shut down. And the reason we went to Hamburg is because we think Hamburg is going to get attacked. And we went to Danish Strait because it's clear that Danish Straits likely will be attacked at some point. And Rotterdam and Antwerp as well. I mean, there's a lot of juicy targets there in Europe. And the idea is to depopulate us, right? To control the remnant, which is what you were talking about earlier with the AI and those sorts of things.
Why wouldn't Putin Oh, sorry, Mike.
Well, he mentioned the word depopulation, so I just wanted to chime in on that because I think that's exactly what this is. And I think you're completely correct there, Michael, that if you look, you were one of the first people to say that the Strait of Hormuz would be closed. You were talking about that 2 years ago in interviews that we were doing. And I didn't see the big picture at that time, but now it's becoming more clear that it's about choking off the energy, the fertilizer, the food, the economic productivity stemming from energy. It's about choking off the things that keep humanity alive. And I want to add one more element to this that perhaps you haven't considered. But there was a study, and hear me out here. I'm not going to try to hog the time. I'll keep it short. But there was a study in 2021 that was published by two Chinese scientists that showed that the presence of the spike protein in the human body suppresses the normal DNA repair mechanisms that keep us alive, suppresses them by 85 to 90%. This study was published, then it was forced to be retracted. But the data were all legit, and then it was replicated 2 more times in subsequent years, 2023 and 2025, by other teams. And what happened is 5 billion people, at least that we know of, who got the exposure, let's say, to spike protein. I don't know what I can say, Michael, because I think you're going to try to publish this on
death jabs.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah,
that's Michael's term, death jabs.
Okay, death jabs. So their DNA repair mechanisms don't work in the way normal human repair mechanisms work, which is why we're having turbo cancers and immune system failure and organ failure and premature aging that's killing so many people. Well, guess what? If you then start a nuclear war, even a low-yield tactical nuclear detonation causes then radioisotope fallout. Then you're starting to increase background radiation that causes ionization of your genetic code. You get what are called double-strand breaks, which is where both of your chromosomes break. They're severed, which is the worst kind of genetic break that you can have. Well, you have a mechanism for repairing that. It's called NHEJ, non-homologous end joining. That's suppressed 85 to 90% by the spike protein toxin. So if you really want to kill off humanity, first you would release the spike protein toxin and have people shedding that all over everybody else. And then you would start a nuclear war to increase background ionizing radiation to cause the complete genetic loss of integrity, knowing that billions of people have lost the ability to repair their genetic code. And that is exactly where I think this is going. So this is actually a large-scale, multi-billion extermination binary weapon system that's just been released in 2 phases, and Trump is releasing them both. He pushed the jabs, and he's going to push nuclear war. I believe that's where this is going. So that's my theory.
Can I just say, the way you just described that, Mike, not that I would have been able to do it because you have much more knowledge of it, but this is what I've been trying to ask people in the last, really since this war started, the end of February, and you summarize exactly how I'm feeling on a much greater detail. I was very general, but this is something much, much bigger than what happened in 2020, and that was not a one-off in my opinion. So when I hear this scenario of versus China or, good guys, bad guys, I'm like, no, this is something much, much bigger. So thank you for that. And who wants to chime in and respond? Steve?
Well, Trump set conditions for a war with China when he did his speech. right? You would expect, I would have expected if when he did his election speech, he would have rolled up some high powered players during that, right? I mean, because that's normally in the past when you do something like that, you're rolling people up while you're saying it. None of that happened, right? So he set conditions, whether it was intended or unintended, doesn't really matter at this point. He set the table. And what matters now is what are the next steps? And if I go with Mike's premise, which sounds plausible, if I go with that premise, then that means he's going to sign the NDAA with Section 219 in it. He's going to definitely do a ground incursion into Kharg Island or one of the other parts unknown within Iran, and he's going to use a draft. And I'll just say this: if Trump does sign the NDAA, the moment he does that, he becomes an enemy of this country because he'll be a traitor if he signs that. Just like
he's way beyond mere traitor. He pushes the death jab. We're way beyond traitor. You know what I mean? I just had lunch with Laura Logan, and she asked me what makes him a traitor, and I said, I was in Fredericksburg with her. I said, death jabs. I mean, there's nothing else follows. We don't even need to talk about anything else. He pushed the death jab. That's genocidal against his own people, against his own base.
Let me put it in perspective. There won't be any plausible deniability when he does that.
We're way beyond plausible deniability. We're way beyond plausible deniability.
Now, I'm going to disagree with you on that because I see a lot of people that are always Trumpers that cannot see anything else other than
that's because they're in a cult. But for those of us who are not in that cult, we're way beyond plausible deniability. He still pushes the jab. We know that it's genocidal.
We agree on that.
They're just in a cult. Cults are cults. They're in a cult. They're in a cult. They're in the orange fungus cult. They worship orange fungus, And Michael found orange fungus a couple of weeks ago while he was walking. I wish I had some of that, but I mean,
it's in my forest, so I took a picture of the orange fungus and sent it to you.
Yeah, I know it. I wish I had some of that, but I couldn't bring it to Japan. Farris, probably.
This conversation that Michael, Jan, and I are having, we have this conversation on a regular basis. So this is
Oh, this is just us talking.
But what I was trying to, if I could put an end cap on that, I mean, think about the nefarious nature of this weapon that targets the genetic integrity of the human race, right? And that Trump is behind both branches of that binary weapon system, and the only thing he needs now is a nuclear exchange. And then it happens, but it won't be said that everybody was killed by, the government or the war. It'll just be like, why is everybody dying from cancer? Why is everybody's organs falling apart?
Yeah.
Why is people's skin falling off? It's like, it's as if they've all taken a tour through Chernobyl or something. It's like they're suffering from extreme radiation damage, but the radiation level's not that high. It's only
Mike,
like
that's happening now. That's happening right now.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Exactly.
It started
right now. Yeah, I don't need a case in point. My ex-wife's husband has been in the hospital for a month on an ECMO machine because his lungs randomly hardened up, and they thought it was an infection first. Again, jabbed. Infection first. Nope, not an infection. We think it's chemical. They don't know what it is.
Wow.
And that's Sam Faddis just died from the same thing. Exact same thing. Exact same issue. And it's happening right now. I mean,
did Sam take the jab? I thought he was against it, wasn't he? Or
I don't know.
Well, my point is that it's almost like, and I'm not saying this literally, but as a metaphor, it's almost like if there were an alien invasion attempted takeover of Earth, that the aliens would say, and again, this is a metaphor, so don't quote me literally on this, but the aliens would say, how do we attack the genetic integrity of the human race? That's what's happening. It's like this is an alien weapon, It's that crazy. And but it's very plausible. And all that's necessary is some more nuclear detonations. And Michael, think about this, or Steve, if Trump does the land invasion, then that's going to create an emergency, and the emergency is going to justify the nukes. It's like, oh, our men are dying. We have to escalate. And what do we have? Well, we don't have any munitions left. We don't have any Tomahawks left. What do we got? Nukes, So like it's pretty easy to see that's where this goes.
Quickly. Yep. That's not good. There's not going to, and I'm saying this not for you guys. I'm saying this for everybody in the audience. You should realize that once our troops touch the ground, once those missiles start impacting, it will not take days, weeks, or years for Trump to say, this is what we need to do. That will be literally within a matter of hours. It will be that bad, that quick.
So it's like sacrificing U.S. troops as bait to justify nuclear war escalation.
That's normal. That's what happened at Pearl Harbor. I mean, that was straight up. That's exactly what happened. October 7th was clear Israelis killing their own people as a casus belli. We don't even objectively know if there was any hostages taken by Hamas. We don't objectively know that. Objectively, we know that the Zionist, Trump is a Zionist, lie when they breathe, and they're mass murderers. We objectively know that. They're the jab guys, right? I mean, they're the ones that are primarily depopulating the earth. That's those guys. And so there's no question in my mind that they would use nuclear weapons. Now, if you're Russia or China, and the United States or Israel starts doing basically a neighborhood school shooting, you know what? How are you going to react? I mean, if China is starting to, I mean, if they see us launching nukes into Iran. If I were China or Russia, I would probably unleash everything I've got on the United States and Israel. I'd probably try to kill every leader in the whole country.
I wanted to ask you guys this exact question, so please continue to answer that. You're saying that if you were in their shoes, you would unleash everything? You would go all out?
I'd go all out, yeah, because I know that they're basically insane. And I know that it's a huge step. I realize it's a massive step with earth-shattering terrible results. But the fact is, if we start nuking Iran, there ain't nobody we won't nuke. It's a school shooting event. You know what I mean? And it's obviously people running amok, right? And what would you do if you were Russia? We're clearly trying to take out Russia right now.
I can answer this from actually doing the nuke business and being in a launch control center. They used to ask us almost every year, show of hands, who's going to do the turnkeys on the limited option, who's just going to turn keys on everybody. And pretty much one guy says, I'm going to do the limited option. The rest of the room's like, it's full send. If I have to turn keys, I'm sending everything. Because
if you're going to go, you go full keys, right?
Because if you're going to, again, we've war gamed this ad nauseum, right? And I can tell you, having conversations back at SAC before it was STRATCOM and U.S. Space Command and whatever it is, I think it's STRATCOM now. I can tell you that there was so many conversations around how fast any kind of a nuclear exchange will accelerate and exponentially grow, and it's a matter of minutes, because everybody realizes whoever unleashes the first round of nukes, there's no de-escalation. There's no way to de-escalate.
That's the thing. It's once you do it, it's all in. And our side would know that as well. If they're going to hit Iran, they're going to hit everybody probably. When you get into just a normal firefight, like a normal firefight, which I've been in huge amounts of those, they often start with bang, 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 something like that. And within like 15 seconds, it's thousands of rounds going out, and it's, explosions and grenade launchers and everything. It goes, often starts with a few shots, and within a minute, thousands of rounds have gone out. I mean, that's the way this would likely go.
Let me add some other context to this, because we've already proven as a country that our negotiations are not genuine, right? So when we're going to negotiate and send a negotiating team, it's disingenuous. So if you're Russia or China, and Trump picks up the phone and calls you and says, we need to de-escalate this, are you going to believe him?
No.
Or are you just going to go full send, right?
You're going to take out the United States forces. You're going to take out U.S. forces anywhere you can find them. Okinawa, here in Honshu, you're going to take them out everywhere you can find them.
Right. Well, you guys have forced me. I have to upgrade my game now. It's rock, paper, scissors, oil, nuke.
Yeah, I think they would do it.
That's the final play. So thank you for that.
Good thing you didn't order coffee mugs yet, Mike.
Well, I mean,
yeah, you're gonna have to update the coffee mugs.
I don't want to be the black pillar. I'm just saying, from my experience of doing that business, that there is no de-escalation path. And, we used to do these bullshit exercises because there's no other way to say it. You're going to reconstitute and then you're going to launch what you have left. No, you're going to die in a hole, which I don't want to do, by the way. I'd rather be above ground. And everything's going to go at once. There's not going to be this, we're going to survive and use our air cans for 2 days and then decide to launch if we get some kind of a signal. Sorry. The sub guys got it right. Their whole agenda is we're going to go to our patrol area. If we don't hear from you for a certain amount of time, we're sending everything. That's literally the way it'll go. And wow. Trump's created the perfect storm, not to be a black pillar, but Trump's created a perfect storm with the negotiations, the lack of negotiations, and all the rhetoric. Who knows how much of this is real? Who knows how much of what we're doing is actually material and not wag the dog? We don't know. Nobody's on the ground to say these things have happened definitively. We've seen some news footage. We've seen some stuff blowing up, but that could have been from Gulf 1, Gulf 2, or any of the other exercises and operations we've conducted in the last 10, 20 years. Who knows? So I think all bets are off right now.
But I think to Mike Adams' point, right? Like this is something much bigger. Is this something much bigger than just negotiations? And, is it COVID 2.0?
There's no negotiations. That's a joke. And in fact, anytime somebody's talking about MOU and negotiations as if they're real, I change the channel because I know that they don't know what they're talking about, right? There are no negotiations. This is war. This is total war. And it's not going, there's no off-ramp. There's no intended off-ramp. This is about population reduction and control of the remnant. That's how we keep successfully predicting things like Strait of Hormuz being closed or the Darien Gap would be opened up. Why Darien Gap? Because if you create global famines and you that would create a lot of HOP, human osmotic pressure, right? And the push and the pull of migration. Right there. What would I do? I would use Darien to invade us, right? Because as you create famine, that's a land route. All you have to do is either be in South America or get to South America, and you can get to North America, right? And it's a very short order. It's quick. That would just be one route, but that's one. It's so easy. At some point, this stuff becomes easy to predict. You reach a point where it's actually quite simple. It's very complex when you're looking at all the blah, 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 MOU crap and all this is nonsense. You'll get lost in all that. It's like trying to map the shoreline of Florida at a millimeter resolution. You know what I mean? If you do it at 1 mile resolution or 10-mile resolution, it's quite simple, right? And when you get to the geo strategic level here and look at it at a higher level, much higher level, it actually becomes pretty simple. I would close Strait of Hormuz. I would close Malacca, Turkish Strait, Bosphorus, Danish Strait, Panama, Drake Passage, Gibraltar, of course, Red Sea, Bab al-Mandeb, all that stuff. I'd be blowing up pipelines. I'd be blowing up fertilizer plants. I'd be releasing screwworms. There'd be bovine tuberculosis. I would reduce. It would take a long time, but reduce the energy, you reduce the population, right? Matt Bracken keeps saying it's World War E, of course. It's about energy. And I'm like, not really. That's just one of the target sets to reduce the population. It's about reducing population and controlling the remnant. It's above World War E. It's a next level. That is one of the strategic targets is the energy.
Plus, if you get enough nuclear detonations, you block the sun for at least a couple of growing seasons. So then you get global famine without having to act locally. You just get planet-wide lack of photosynthesis, crop failures everywhere.
Like Tambora.
That's what they want.
Like the Tambora eruption, right? The Year Without a Summer, which is a really good book about the volcanic eruption.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And remember that when that happened, was that like 1918? What year was that?
1814, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong century.
1314, I think.
Okay. Yeah, early 19th century. They did not know that was a volcano that caused that. They did not know that because, they didn't have the weather maps and everything. They're just like, why do we have no summer here in Western Europe? Because the volcano was so far away from them. They had no clue.
Yeah. And, even
Yeah.
artists, if you look back, I read a book on that. It was quite fascinating. And interestingly, the artists are really, really good artists. You can look at their artwork from that time period around the world, and the hues when they're doing, when the sun's involved in the paintings, were actually more orange.
Oh yeah.
Globally. In that wild, the artists are so good. They left evidence in their paintings, probably by just being artists, good artists.
And imagine all of the health impacts of lack of vitamin D
Mm.
globally, so then that would give rise to what would later be called like outbreaks and things like, I mean, there's a lot of rabbit holes we could go down, but anyway, it's your show, Michael, although you've hardly had a chance to speak, but that's what you get for inviting three other people on your show who know things.
That's usually how it goes when I do these. No, one of the other things I want to, Mike, you okay for a few more minutes? Couple minutes?
Yeah. Go ahead.
One of the other thing I want to ask, I had Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson on earlier today. Just going back to geopolitical for a second, what is Turkey's role in all this?
Oh boy,
Yet to be determined.
Turkey's going to be involved for sure.
Turkey, they have to realize that Israel wants them gone. They have to realize that they cannot remain an ally of NATO forever. And Turkey, don't forget, they are very capable of manufacturing and creating their own autonomous systems, fighter jets, drones, everything. I mean, that's Turkey's going to leave NATO. This is my prediction. Turkey's going to leave NATO, and they're going to start trading with more of the BRICS nations if trade is still functioning. And Turkey's going to eventually have to defend itself against Israel's northward expansion through Lebanon. So, I mean, isn't it obvious, Michael?
Yeah,
Young,
I just had two more maps come in yesterday. I was just looking for them. They're downstairs though. It's the Basra, Baghdad to Berlin Railroad. So these are old maps that are over 100 years old. I had two come in yesterday, and Masako's going down. They're small. They're I put them in the frame. Yeah, thank you. A single frame. And but those maps, when you look at where the greater Israel would go up, it would go up to the Euphrates River, right? And if you look at the old maps of the Basra to Baghdad or Basra to Berlin Railroad, that's right by the Euphrates. I mean, it's not a coincidence. I mean, that's part of why I thought that we, the Zionists who have taken the United States government, would close Hormuz, partly because that also is a forcing move to open up that route. That route is important. That route by Kuwait there at that tip where Iran, Kuwait, and Iraq all meet right there. I've been on those two. There's two oil platforms there called Abot and Kayot. And I've been on both of those oil platforms. I think one is closed now, but right there. So if you look at the headwaters up there, you might call it
Mike, say something. Mike, say something so the camera goes to you.
I'll show you where to put your finger. Put your finger on Saudi Arabia. Yeah, there you go.
It's hard doing. I'm not looking at it.
Yeah,
okay.
Right there.
Here we go.
That's
Here
Iran.
we go.
That's Iran. Okay, Saudi Arabia. Go up to 2:00 now. 2:00. There you go. Right there. Right there.
It's hard to do in the camera.
Go to the water part. Right there. You go. And so
right here.
That is where the railway ends. Right there. Right. And there's two oil platforms there. I've been on them, but that railway is one that is still a dream, and they want pipelines there and everything else. That's why they want that. That's why I keep saying I think the Zionists will end up taking out Mosul Dam, but I'm not sure what they would want to do with that. I think my intuition is that they'll want to destroy Mosul Dam, which is on the Tigris River, because for various reasons. I think that's what they'll do. We'll see if they do it or not. And also maybe Aswan, right? Not to mention Three Gorges, but if you're going to do Three Gorges, you're going to definitely unleash it. But if you want nuclear war, that'd be a great way to do it.
Yeah.
If you want if you actually want a general nuclear war, just go ahead and take out Three Gorges and let everything fly, right? I mean, that's what would happen probably. But if you take out Mosul Dam, you'll do. I first wrote about Mosul Dam in about 2005 or 6. I wrote about it quite a bit. I was up in that area for about a year, in that general area. But if you take out Mosul Dam is up there by Mosul, and it's on the Tigris River. But if you take out Mosul Dam, you're going to take out a huge amount of the food supply, and you're going to take out Mosul. You're going to take out towns all the way down the Tigris River, which Steve was there. Steve was shooting his way out of there in 2004. You were probably at Mosul Dam, Steve. Did you go there? Or?
many, many, many times,
Yeah.
along with the cement plant, the water plants, and everything else, trying to get
Oh, there we
reconstruction.
go. There we go.
So
Thanks, Miss
yeah, the
Ethel.
whole place, the whole. So people don't realize how important Mosul is just from a river perspective, and I could see them taking out Mosul Dam within the next 2 years.
No, it's not this one though. But anyway, it's not exactly the right one. But
Are you
but
digging into your historic maps?
Yeah, this is not exactly the right one, but this is routes to access routes to Iran. It's about half the size. I don't know if that. I'm sorry, I'm in the way here, but I got huge amounts of these old maps because. Sorry, is that there? But that because this is where the same fights are occurring now. There's nothing changed. There's nothing changed. You look at the old fights where they were fighting for, yikes, to build the. Hope it wasn't important. but you look at the old routes that they were fighting over. It's the same routes now. That's why I look at these old maps quite a lot because that's how I started looking at Darien. I'm like, oh, they're going to open Darien for invasion of the United States and invasion of Panama to take. Now that may have changed a little bit now because now the United States is going back to Panama, but this is why I published quite a few times that I thought Colombia would end up going, Panama's ours. We want it back, right? And because I thought China would induce them to do that, and they may still do that, right? To say, Colombia, we're going to take Panama back. But now you've got the Zionists moving heavier and heavier into Panama, which they've been there for centuries anyway. Not as Zionists, but the Zionists are moving. They've got a whole community up there in Panama. All this fight that we're looking at in Iran, it's all over the world. It's not just Iran. It's Philippines.
Yeah,
it's Thailand.
That's clear.
Thailand and China. I mean, let's say China and the Zionists are ripping Thailand apart. And I first noticed that in 2014, and I started publishing it. But I thought it was the United States doing it. I thought, and so I was publishing that the United States seems to be trying to rip Thailand apart, which didn't make sense to me under that paradigm. I'm like, I'm missing something because we're clearly doing stuff to damage Thailand, but why would we do that? So I'm missing components. Now I've filled in a lot of the blanks and I see what's going on. It's the Zionists in China that are ripping Thailand apart. This is happening all over the place. Argentina too.
Well, the summary of this talk is for the audience, you better be ready to decentralize, get off the grid, survive, become self-reliant, stay informed. It's going to get bad for years to come. This isn't going to end anytime soon, I don't think. And the energy scarcity, the food scarcity, these are going to be extremely difficult for uninformed people to navigate. And I just think many of them won't make it, period. That's where I think we are.
And it's the same old stuff over and over and over. This is an actual newspaper from World War II, right? War.
Wow.
Oahu bombed by the Japanese planes. But that was a total setup. I got so much. You got to come visit me at some point because my library is a lot more than books. I mean, it's intense. It's got all kinds of, I've been, for years, I've been assembling this stuff and trying to figure out how this thing works. And I still don't have it all figured out, but now I'm getting more and more predictive as the years unfold. I'm able to predict better and better, and it's getting. Actually, we've reached a point where my rate of accuracy is increasing much more over time than it used to.
Well, last question.
Agreed.
Mike, jump off whenever you need to. But last quick question. What do you think? What do you think the United States? What is life going to be like in this country by the end of the year?
Well,
Mike Adams.
It's not the end of the world here in the U.S. by the end of the year, but you will see much higher prices of food. You're going to have much higher prices in supply difficulty for diesel and, of course, jet fuel, kerosene. Not so much gasoline for reasons you've talked about with other guests. But you're going to see, I think, a lot of social upheaval. There's a breaking point in the culture where especially young people and young couples realize, we're never going to get ahead in this system. We can never afford to buy a home, have a family, save money. It's not possible. and they're looking at their parents or grandparents saying, well, you guys had it easy. You could have a job, you could afford to buy a house, you could raise a family, you could buy food, and it all worked then. And it did in the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s even. Today, it's an impossible economic scenario for young people. There will be some kind of political revolt. I pray that doesn't look like an attempted, communism, fascism, Marxism, whatever, because I'm a Ron Paul pro liberty, free market forces, but we don't have free markets. We have rigged markets. We have cabals and cartels and criminal factions running everything. I just want us to get back to what America was founded on, those core principles. But we're so far from that, it's gone. So I foresee high tension, high social chaos, a lot of homelessness, a lot more people lashing out, and eventually, what Matt Bracken told me, he predicts in an interview, you're going to have wholesale looting of grocery stores in the blue cities, just ransacking of entire stores. Mobs going in and saying, we got nothing left to lose. There's nothing left. We're either starving or we're ransacking this store. They're just going to go through and clean them out. And that's going to spread from city to city. Don't be anywhere near that. You want to be as far away from that as possible, because you may not survive it. So get out in the country if you can, grow your own food, whatever you can, have some supplies, stay informed. You can make it through. That's my overall message. It's not the end of the world for everybody, just for probably a few billion. Yeah. I mean, I'm just being honest, but not everybody.
That's it. Michael, you got to go, right? And I have to go as well.
Yeah, I probably do need to run. Yeah.
And Michael, can I call you up? I need to ask a couple things offline. Just like 2 or 3 minutes.
Here, let me just wrap this up real quick. Mike Adams, where can people find you?
Naturalnews.com, and my videos are at brightvideos.com.
Michael Yon, where can people find you?
On Substack at Big Honey. Big Honey on Substack, right? Michael Yon.
And your Twitter, right? Your ex?
On Twitter, right? Same, Michael Yon or Big Honey. Mm-hmm.
Steve?
You can find me on Rumble, YouTube, Substack under the Path Forward. It's Path Forward 25 on Substack. And I have Michael Yon's Substack link in my show notes for a lot of my shows. So you can find him there too.
If you guys
Thanks, Steve.
If you guys enjoy what I'm doing, please consider. I put all my conversations up ad-free and early on my Substack. I do read the comments on YouTube, Rumble. As painful as most of them, not most of them, some of them are. So if you like, subscribe, share, I would truly appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time, and we got to do this again.
Thank you,
Michael. And by the way, is that the microphone in front of your face? Has that microphone been on at all during this show? Because it sounds like that's not the one that's on.
It's not.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
So what happens is, I don't know if my audience wants to hear this, but here, let me end this and I'll tell you. I do post editing. I do post editing with the mic with the recorder, and I lay this track over. So that's why it sounds differently.
So I'm hearing a little more of a distant mic.
Yes.
So coffee and a distant mic.
No, the remastered version. The remastered version will be coffee and a mic.
Coffee and a close mic.
Yeah, he's
cool.
Into a can and it's hooked up to a string to another can.
I was just wondering. Sorry, I mean, I hear these things and I have questions. That's all. I have questions.
Mic drop. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Okay. If you'd like to help support us, check out all of the affiliate deals I put together for you at rangerdeals.com. And if you go there, you'll see I've done due diligence on all of these affiliates. There's really not that many, but we have partners like Battalion Metals, co-founded by Tucker Carlson, Nessa's Organic CBDA Hemp Extract, Above Phone models that are de-Googled phones, Red Life, here's the peptide company, Limitless, Petmectin, and so much more, including the satellite phone store, VP.net. And for almost all of these, you can use discount code RANGER here, or sometimes it's something else like Brighteon50, but normally the discount code is RANGER, which will save you something on these deals. Now, we do earn a little bit off of these affiliate deals, but it's no additional cost to you, and it helps support our platform and our work for humanity, including our AI projects that offer free open source knowledge in multiple languages. You can check those out at brightlearn.ai and brightanswers.ai. So thank you for supporting us. Check out rangerdeals.com anytime you want to save money on really high-end products and solutions that I personally endorse. I'm Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. Thanks for watching.